interior finished. Goodyear polyglass. Welcome back to another plastic model build. We'll be building the 70 Plymouth Superbird. This is a Revell kit. It's called the Replica Street Racer. Skill level 2. This kit doesn't have a lot of parts. Pretty simple build. 67 pieces. It is molded in white, so that's good for painting. And a lot of people call this petty blue. It's also called corporate blue. We'll be painting it that color. Chrysler built 1,935 of these Superbirds that the consumer could purchase. There's supposedly only 43 that were painted the petty blue, so less than 50. The most popular color, and this kind of surprised me, lemon twist yellow. Approximately 25% of the Superbirds were painted that color. And it's estimated there's still over 1,000 of these still that exist today. So let's open this up and take a look inside. Now this was an open box kit that I purchased. Everything is there except for 2 decals. You can see they've been cut out. These that say Mark Times Racing. So that seems to be the ones missing, and we don't need those. All the major decals are still intact. There's the glass. That bag's still sealed, so we know everything is in there. And a little bit more chrome. There are 2 different style wheels we can use on this. We'll probably go with the mags with the black centers. I like the looks of those, which would be that one. We'll have to paint the black in them. Tires still on the tree, and instructions. Taking a quick glance at these instructions, this kit does come with a 440 6-pack big block 4-speed transmission. As in all my builds, I'll paint all I can with a brush, engine parts, interior parts, etc., suspension, and we'll paint the body with the spray paint. Definitely won't take long to do the painting on this. And that's the hood and the rear wing, so they'll be painted body color. So not much to paint. Engine block and heads, front pulleys, intake. They're what's called Chrysler red. It's really an orange. We look at the box top, that's basically what it is. So this is my orange paint, but I mixed just a little bit of red with it. Give it a deeper orange. And I think that's going to work okay. Pretty close to that picture on the box. And one more thing to paint orange, our air breather. So we'll put some orange on it before I clean this paint out. Here's all the parts that would be painted blue. And to make it a little easier to paint, these are the fender scoops that go on each side. So we're going to attach them to the body. This is a rear wing, these three pieces. So I'm going to glue that together and I'll attach it to the body. Chassis has to be painted blue. And the rest of the body parts. Can't put the taillight panel in yet because the body has to go onto the frame and then the taillight panel goes on after that. So can't do that, but there's a hood and this is a front valance. So all of these parts will be painted blue. Slight change of plan here on this wing. I was looking at this, the box top, and sort of looks like maybe a gasket underneath that wing. So instead of gluing it to the body, I just have it temporarily put on there till the glue dries here on the top of the wing. I'm going to paint some black at the very bottom of this wing, and hopefully that'll make it look like a gasket. Not a lot left to paint. Wheels, use gloss black between the spokes. I like that look. Matches the box top. Front seat's done. Black and gray two-tone. Have the gray painted on the back seats, but nothing else on the interior. Dash is painted, rear package tray, radiator, and the radiator support, suspension. Engine should be ready to go together now. I need to paint the transmission aluminum and paint the starter. First step in assembly is the motor. Have all the parts laid out. So let's get this put together. Next we'll do tires and wheels and suspension. Broken the wheels out of the parts tree and I've trimmed around the edge, but we need to touch up where they were attached. Get a chrome pin out. Also trimmed the edges of the back of the wheel. And if we have to touch up, we'll do that after we get everything put together. We have lettering on the outside, so we'll turn that out. All right, there's one finished. And I did put just a couple of spots of glue to hold the two halves together. You cut out the suspension parts and mount the tires and wheels. And then we got to do some spray painting. And these snap on. I don't know if you could hear that or not. And rolling free. Now I can jump on over, work on the interior, finish it up. So we'll lay these aside. I have the painting done in the interior, but I do need to go back and paint the door handles, the window cranks. So we'll do that with some silver. Here's the paint I'm going to use. I've never tried this variable nozzle before, called a 5-in-1. You can control the pattern of the spray, and you'll notice the lid is permanently attached. It doesn't pop off. So never tried this before, but that was the closest color I could find, and I think we're going to match pretty well. We'll do some sanding where these joints are. May put a little filler in those. But we'll get everything sanded and we'll wash it off and do some spray painting. 3000 grit, little body putty, just a little putty on those joints inside and out. Let that dry and then sand it. The body looks good. One little spot right here, like some dirt got in the mold. We need to sand that. But otherwise, I think it'll pass. Chassis, I've done just a little trimming on the edge of it. I usually test fit the hood before I paint. This one, an okay fit. We're a little wide right here and narrow here, but I'll sand the edge of this hood just a little from here to the front. Have the nose just put on temporarily. It's not glued. It fits pretty snug, so put it on so I can do some sanding where it joins the fender on each side. I thought about gluing it on before we paint, but I think it's like the rear wing. I think it's supposed to have a gasket where these meet. And I'm going to paint it separate, and I'll just put a black edge on where this joint is, and hopefully that'll make it look like a gasket, just like the rear wing. All right, let's go wash everything off. Before we paint this, haven't discussed which version of this model I'm going to build. Or they're both painted petty blue. Really, I think I'm liking the one with the vinyl top. This is the one that the public could buy. Even though it had that big wing on the back, it didn't have all the decals and all the stuff you see here. So I think I'm going to go with that one. So that means we'll be painting a vinyl top. That'll just be flat black. But there's also a difference here in the front. See, we have two lights down there at the bottom on each side of the grill, the lower grill. They're painted black on the race car, but on the model that the public could purchase, they're clears when I paint. This is the underside of the body. the top side of the chassis, underside of the hood, inside the nose. We'll paint all of those first. When we flip this over, we'll paint the body, and I'll have to let it cure and then paint the vinyl top. So another step, but that's the one I want to build. I'm kind of liking this, especially for painting small things like these models. You can kind of control the paint a little better that way. We'll let this dry, then we'll flip everything over, paint the other side. This is enamel paint. That's why it took about 12 hours for it to dry enough for me to flip it over and paint the top. Well, the paint's dry enough to work with. Not fully cured yet, but it's not sticky, so we can continue on. I like the idea of that adjustable nozzle on this paint, but I don't like the idea that it is full-blown enamel. It takes a long time to dry. I painted this top coat good 24 hours ago. It's dry enough to work with, but it's still kind of soft feeling. That's the drawback to the adjustable nozzle spray can. Blue's a little darker than I thought it would be, but hey, it is what it is, so we're going to go with that. So next we're going to do some detailing here on the chassis. I'm going to paint the frame rails the same way we did on the Roadrunner that had the lower chassis painted the body color. So we'll do that, and then we still got to work on this vinyl top. Using my paintbrush with the pointed tip. Painted the frame rails black, gas tank and the rear brake lines silver metallic. Just some flat black for the vinyl top. I'll put one more coat of black on this vinyl top. And I'm going to use a wider brush, make it a little smoother. Then painting the engine compartment, the overflow tank and the windshield washer tank white with the black tops on them. Paint the battery black, silver terminals and green caps. Yeah, that looks better on that top. And I installed the wing. We got a little bit of a shadow around the bottom there where it looks like a gasket. Next, I'm going to paint the chrome around the windows, windshield. Well, there's my chrome work. Chromed the wiper arms and painted the wiper blades black. door handles and the locks. Side marker lights, front and back. Front suspension installed. Engine and finished with the bottom of the chassis. Windshield and back glass installed. Interior put in. So we're ready to make the body up with the frame. Taillight panel next. We had these lights are chrome and we had to paint red transparent. They'll go in behind the panel. Engine compartment, master cylinder will be installed. Radiator hose, and I've already put the air cleaner on. Taillight panel and the bumper installed. Let it dry in that position there. Okay, have the nose ready to go on. Painted that spoiler on the top edge, semi-gloss black. So I have the car in this position now where I can put the front on. I did put some black paint on the edges of the fender. All right. Well, one thing I'm going to change. I didn't realize it until I was looking at the decal placement and the instructions. You actually get decals that say Goodyear polyglass. And if you use those, you put them on the side of the tire where there's no lettering, like that side. So I'm going to put those on. And we're going to swap these wheels around where this lettering will be out. I like that better. It says Goodyear polyglass. And that completes the build on this 1970 Plymouth Superbird. I think the vinyl top worked out okay, as well as the chrome molding. Rather than trying to paint on chrome, I like those chrome pins. A little easier for me. I did chrome the Plymouth letters on the back. That wasn't really in the instructions, but I like the looks of that. Rear window chrome molding. And here's a peek at the interior. And of course we have the Plymouth letters on the rear quarters, along with the Roadrunner. And I think my attempt at that gasket, okay. It does give it a shadow around it, like there's supposed to be a gasket there. And the engine compartment. So that's the 1970 Plymouth Superbird. What's our next build going to be? 39 Chevy. Ducky Craft Barrel Company. So be looking for that one. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, how about commenting, liking, and subscribing to our channel? Thanks.